guys for having me. I'm Amber L. Warner. I've got my books over there. You guys can check them out if you have a minute. I like to write epic fantasy adventure, full of magic, monsters, quests, mythical creatures, that kind of thing. Not everybody's going to be into fiction. I'm sure some people are more into nonfiction, but these tips will work for either and any type of genre. So the first thing you want to do is just research how to write. When I first started, I didn't have like a degree in writing. I did go briefly to college for journalism, but it's a whole different beast when you get into fiction writing. So here's a few things that really helped me when I first started. There's a famous fantasy writer named Brandon Sanderson, and he has a whole YouTube lecture. He's actually also a college teacher, and he's taped himself giving lectures on fiction writing. You can watch those all for free. I believe there's 10 of them. I did that when I decided one day that I'm definitely going to do this. I sat down, I watched all of them, and it felt like I took the college course, you know? There's a couple books I would recommend. I brought a couple books over here with me. I don't think I have any of these though. Save the Cat writes a novel. That one's great for just like general fiction. There's one called Romancing the Beat that works great for romance. There's all kinds of books you can get on writing that will help you, and some that focus more on different genres. So in fantasy and many other genres, world building is a big factor that comes into play. That could include things like making a map of your fantasy world, creating unique religions and cultures and food. So that's an important step you want to take before you start actually sitting down to write. You also have to beware of something called world builder's disease. There's a lot of people who get stuck in that phase where they're just constantly thinking about what to make, and they never sit down and actually write. So what I like to do is just give myself a time limit. So when I first started, I said I'm going to give myself 2 weeks, and after that I'm going to make sure I sit down and actually write something. So that seemed to help with that for sure. Another thing you might want to do is draft an outline. Some people are not outliners at all. They're something you call a pantser, so they just fly by the seat of their pants. So everybody's different. You can make your outline as detailed as you like or not have one at all. It's totally up to you. For me, what I find works well is just to draft maybe a few basic plot points, so just like a bare bones outline. And then when I sit down to draft the scene, I just write what comes to me. So what they call that is a plantser. So it's kind of like a mix between the outlining and the pantsing. And then another important step is to pick a tense and a POV. So you have either first person, third person, POVs, and then tense is either if you're going to be in past or present tense. And you just don't want to jump in between those or else readers get confused. So that's something that's important to decide beforehand, but if you don't have it figured out right away, you can always fix that in editing too. So the next step is drafting. This is when the writing starts. The thing that works great for me, I found, is doing writing sprints. So when you do a sprint, you want to set a timer. 15 minutes is what I like to do. And the best thing to do when you're sprinting is to not stop for anything. Just put your hands on the keyboard and keep going. If something throws you off, like you need to name a person or a place, or you need to research some obscure fact, just put a placeholder. I'll usually do XXX or just brackets and research, add research. Then you come back to it later. Just make sure you keep the story going. And then if you do a couple sprints a day, you'll find you get a lot of words down really fast. And if you don't, don't be too hard on yourself because every little bit adds up. You just want to keep going. So after you're done drafting the story, you want to self-edit it. So I've got 2 books over here I brought with me that I use every time I self-edit. The first one is called The Emotion Thesaurus, and that basically just has any emotion you could think of: anger, fear, sadness. You look it up and it'll give you different physical cues, internal cues. So that way, if you're curious about how to, sometimes you get your character nodding their head constantly or doing the same action over and over. That'll allow you to change it up a little bit. You don't want them to just be stuck doing the same things over and over again. The other one I have over there is called Strong Verb, Strong Voice. Sometimes you'll find you use the same verb over and over, like look or put. That just gives you a big list of all the commonly used verbs, and you can put more specific ones in there to really amp up the drama in your writing. And another one I use all the time is called Editor Proof Your Writing. I don't have that one with me. I have that on ebook, but that has a lot of great tips in it. Another thing that can help you while you're self-editing is programs like Grammarly or ProWriting Aid. These are they use AI to help you edit, and they will help clean up common problems, grammar, but they don't catch anything, so you make sure to use a human editor as well. After you've done self-editing, you want to get beta readers. These are just your first readers who will be the fresh eyes you need for your work. When I use beta readers, I use a program called Google Docs. You can have your beta readers comment in the doc, and you'll see this in real time, and you can comment back, which makes it very easy to get all that feedback you need. You can get beta readers for free a lot of places, but when you get a free beta reader, just be aware that a lot of them are going to bail. People just have life events come up. You can hire beta readers. There's a place called Fiverr I've used before, and you'll get faster feedback there, and you're pretty much guaranteed that they're going to actually give you feedback and not bail on you. Or you can form a critique group or do a beta swap with another author. I find that works really well, and it actually, you can find problems in your own writing when you're reading somebody else's that maybe you wouldn't have seen, but since you're reading a fresh book or a draft, you catch it easier then. I would also say to avoid using family and friends for your beta readers, because they won't be willing to hurt your feelings if they spot any errors a lot of times. After the beta readers look at your book, you want to do revisions. This is when you make changes. You just read through what all your beta readers have commented, and if a lot of them are saying the same thing, that's probably something you want to change. After this revision round, some people will choose to do another round of betas, but that's totally up to you. You could move on to the next step at this point. So after you've got all that done, you're going to have a pretty clean draft. At this stage, you want to decide how you want to be published. So either you can do a couple options. There's 2 that are the most common, and there's one that I would recommend avoiding. So option number 1 is traditional publishing. This is when you get the big book publishers, your books are in the stores. This is what everybody pretty much wants. But it's also very competitive, and it takes a long time. You need to get an agent most of the times, which is where you have to basically put your book out there and hope somebody likes it enough to help you find a publisher. It can often take years for this process. The good thing about getting a traditional publishing gig is that it's no cost. They're going to pay you. Most first-time authors will get a small advance around $5 to $10K, and then they're going to get a smaller royalty share as well once the advance is paid out. But you also get that clout of saying, hey, I was traditionally published. Option number 2 is what I went to with my books, is self-publishing. Self-publishing has some pluses and minuses as well. You can move at your own speed. My first book came out January of 2021, so I haven't been published 2023? Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
Get my years mixed up here. So I've only been published for about a year and a half, but I already have 5 books out, so you can go really fast. If you do traditional publishing, it's maybe a book a year, and that first book might take like 3, 4, 5 years, however long it takes you to find a publisher willing to publish you. You also have more control with self-publishing. Like, everything comes down to you. So you have the control, but you also have the responsibility. You have to vet and hire freelance cover artists and editors. All the marketing falls to you, but you also get a bigger share of the royalties when your book sells. So that's a trade-off. You have to decide what you're willing to do. The third option, which I do not recommend, is vanity or hybrid publishing. This is a company that will hold your hand through the publishing process, but they're different from traditional publishers because they will publish anything. They don't care if your book is good. All they care about is if you pay them, and they're going to charge you a lot more than if you went through the self-publishing process and picked all the freelancers yourself. And then also the problem with them too is that sometimes their cover designers and their editors do a subpar job and you can't get to pick them, you have no say. So since I went through indie publishing, I'll walk you through the next steps I went through. So you want to hire a pro editor if you're going to go indie. You can use places like Reedsy or Fiverr. Sometimes editors will have their own websites where you can find them. You can even just go into a bookstore or a library, open the book, and see who the editor is, if it's a book you like, and reach out to the editor. You always want to ask for a sample edit because sometimes editors have their own style, which I did not realize when I first edited. I thought all editors were going to be the same. They have a style just like a writer, so you want to make sure that that meshes well with your writing style. And then also you're going to have to go through the same process with the cover designer. You can find them at the same type of spots, Reedsy or Fiverr, personal websites, and the copyright page. The next step you're going to want to do after that, when you have everything good to go, is to get ARC readers. These are people you send advanced review copies out, and they will give you your first reviews when your book is published. Now what I use is a program called BookFunnel and Google Forms. I use those together to get my ARC readers. But you can use sites like NetGalley, and they'll just charge you a fee and find ARC readers for you, so it's a little less work and a little more money, but a little less work. And now when you go to publish, after all those steps, you'll be ready to publish. As an indie, where I do is I use Amazon and Ingram. They're 2 separate companies. Amazon has the market share of publishing. They do about 80% of all book sales, which is kind of crazy. I didn't realize that before I started publishing. Ingram, they will take care of pretty much everything else. They'll get you in libraries, they'll get you in online bookstores. So if you put your book on both of those, then you're pretty much set as an indie. And then you can join groups for support. I would definitely recommend that when you publish. I like to join a lot of groups on Facebook. There's one called 20 Books to 50K, that's great for indies. There's another one called Wide for the Win. They'll let you network with other authors in your genres. And if you ever have any random publishing questions, there's always somebody there who will help you. And then you can also look for local writing groups. I belong to one in Norristown. It's called the Norristown Author Alliance. And then at that stage, you're pretty much good. You've got your book out. The next thing you want to do is market. And they always say the best marketing is to write the next book. But other than that, a good step would be to have an author email newsletter. I use MailerLite and BookFunnel to do my author newsletter. And then you also want to have a website and social media presence. So I always recommend to pick 1 or 2 social medias. You can go crazy these days, there's everything. Just pick 1 or 2 and focus on those and get your presence established before you get overwhelmed trying to put your author page on everything out there. And then there's also advertising that you can do as an indie through Facebook and Amazon. Those are the 2 that I've tried so far. There's a lot of other ones that you can try as well, but each platform is going to take time to learn. So it's best to just focus on one at a time, master it, and then move on to the next. And then last but not least, you want to go to in-person events like this one. I have 2 upcoming. If any of you guys are interested, there's one in Collingswood, New Jersey, a book festival on October 5th. And then there's going to be another one at the Plymouth Meeting Mall on October 19th. And if there's any other authors in the room, you guys can still sign up for those 2 to sell your books. And I think that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions? Yep.
Has AI been involved in anything you've done, or how do you see that impact on what you're doing?
AI is it's a very hot topic right now in the author community. I do use, I did mention Pro Writing Aid and Grammarly. They use AI software to help you edit. That's the only AI I use currently. I also use a human editor as well, because AI, I feel like at this stage, it's not that great. It'll help you a little bit, but it's not going to get you all the way you need to be. As far as indies go, there's a lot of drama in the author community about using cover artists who use AI, so I've been staying away from that. I would rather use somebody and support an actual human than a machine, for sure.
Going back to the Amazon, there's a cost in that, I assume?
No, there is no cost. They take part of the profits.
Okay.
So to actually put your book on there, it's not going to cost you anything. Yeah, the same with Ingram. Ingram used to have a fee. It was, I believe, $50, but they just got rid of that within like the last 6 months. So you can put your books on both sites for free. What they're going to do is they're going to charge you to print it, number 1, and then they're also going to charge you as the retailer. So if I got one of my books printed, it would be about $5 to $6. So if I go to an in-person event and sell that, whatever I get past that is my profit. If I sell the same paperback on Amazon, I'm going to get about $3 to $4. That's my cut of it. If you're a traditionally published author and you sell one book, you're probably going to get less than $1. That's just the way it works out with the different different publishing venues you go through.
Does Amazon require it being edited, of course?
No, they do not actually. You could just write whatever and post it up there. But if you do that, people are going to slam you in the reviews. Yeah.
How does Amazon deal with Kindle books and the fees and whatnot, since there's no physical book?
You get a larger share of the Kindle books. I believe those prices I quoted were for paperbacks. You get 70% of whatever ebook price you pay. You also have to leave it within a certain price range if you want that. If you go over, they want to keep their costs low. I believe it's $2.99 to $9.99. As long as you price your book within there, your ebook, then you'll get the 70%. If you go higher or lower, then I think it's only 30%. Don't quote me on that, though. I stay in the range, so I get the good price.
You don't want to make the money anyways.
Yeah.
If you put it on the Amazon website for them to help you, is it a closed thing that just you and the person you're working with, or is it out there that people could kind of steal your ideas?
Well, at that point, it's published, so anybody could just, like, everybody pretty much in the author community knows your book's going to get pirated.
You don't use that any like public, like the websites while you're helping to, like the edit, that other people have.
Oh, are you talking about during?
Before it's actually published.
Okay. I mean, if you put your book in Google Docs and then you give it to a beta reader, there's a chance that they could take it and then publish it before you do. But at that point, you can sue them. The way it works in the U.S. is that you have copyright as soon as you put the words on the page. You can pay the government to get a piece of paper that says this is my copyright, but you can also use other things to, like if you didn't have that yet, you could just give them the proof. Like, everything's digital nowadays. You would have proof that I'm the one who wrote this. That's never came up as a problem for me personally, and I think a lot of authors, it doesn't really become a problem, because normally when you're sending somebody a beta draft, it's not very good yet. So it would be too much work for somebody to fix it up and put it online. All right, thank you guys for having me.